Welcome to the Our State Book Club podcast. I'm your host, New York Times bestselling author and North Carolina native Wiley Cash. In today's episode, we return to Charlottesville, Virginia to visit with #1 New York Times bestselling author Jan Karon to discuss her book, Bathed in Prayer, Life in Mitford, and the characters who have remained in her heart for decades. Jan, thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you for having me again.
Oh, that first episode was so fun. I can't wait to jump into this one. So the August pick for the Our State Book Club is Bathed in Prayer. And can you tell us a little bit about what led you to publish that, not only that book, but that kind of book? And why you chose to focus on the trials and tribulations of Father Tim?
Actually, that book was the idea of my readers.
Oh, really? Wow.
Over and over and over, I was asked to compile the prayers, the sermons, some of the quotes, which they loved from the 2 quote books I published. So I just finally said, okay. I was in Asheville doing an event at Malaprops. And my wonderful friend and publisher, Ivan Held, was attending. And I talked about how I bathe my work in prayer. He said, that's the title. So my readers asked for it, my publisher titled it, and I had to pull it together.
What was that process like, pulling it together? Was it fun to go back and look at your work?
It was a little of both. It was laughter and tears.
Mm-hmm.
But it was good for me to go back, and I worked with a young editor on how to not let it feel choppy. You know, it can be choppy because it's all bits and pieces.
Sure.
And it just took off. And sold very, very well. And it's still in print. So Bathed in Prayer is actually what I do with all my work. My novels get the same treatment. I can't write a book, Wiley, without taking it before God.
Mm-hmm.
I need all the help I can get.
Sure.
Yes, I'm having a good time most of the time. Yes, I'm agonizing some of the time. Sometimes it feels like most of the time. I need direction. I don't have anybody I can, swirl around in my chair and say, "Hey, what do you think about this paragraph?"
Sure.
My daughter used to be my first reader, but I did lose my daughter, and she was a whole community, a whole village. My best friend, my first reader, my precious daughter, on and on, a great travel companion. We never just lose a person.
Sure.
We lose a village.
Yes, absolutely.
So who do you talk to? You take it to the one who loved us first, the one who's always really, honestly, ready to listen.
Sure.
So that's even how the novels get written.
So when you do that, are you kind of in like prayerful meditation about the direction of the novel, or the storyline, or the development of the character? And or are you also praying for the stamina it takes to sit there day after day? Because people say, what's the hardest thing about publishing a book? And I always say, writing a book. Publishing a book, my agent sells it. My publisher finds the sales team and the marketing team. Writing the book is the hardest thing you can do. So how does your faith tie into the inertia, or maybe the lack of inertia in writing a book?
A lot of lack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Stamina is one of my issues. I either write full bore for several hours, or I've got 15 minutes or maybe half an hour to sit down, just put my fanny in the chair. And if you do that, Wiley, as you probably have learned, You say, okay, I really don't have any time today, but if you just give it 15 minutes, it's amazing
Sure.
what you can get if you'll
Yes.
just sit and get it. So people ask me what time of day I write. I just write when I can.
Yeah.
I write when I have to. I write when I can. For example, I had 6,000 pages for book inserts to be bound into books for Barnes & Noble. It had to be signed. That takes a lot of time.
It does,
And
yeah.
it takes stamina. You realize you've compressed your
Yes.
lungs.
Yeah.
You've bent over. You haven't breathed properly. Oh, and you get up and you're exhausted
Yeah.
from just writing your name. And then I have a busy life. I have a really busy life. I bring it on myself. I'm curious about everything. And so I've sort of got my hands in many pies.
Yeah.
I founded a museum in Hudson, North Carolina, and we're getting ready to break ground for the Mitford Discovery Center.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Congratulations.
Thank you. 2 huge projects. And Write My Beloved, which is coming out in October. I was often distracted, often exhausted, but when I would sit down and write, it gave me joy. This book gave me so much joy. I laughed out loud so much. And you're grateful. You're grateful when you're getting that kind of work.
Sure, absolutely.
But even to have that work streaming through you, just the physicality, I don't even know what word to use. Of the work itself is exhausting.
Yeah, it's like being wrung out, a wet washcloth, just wringing you out. One thing that I found particularly interesting about Bathed in Prayer is the essay that opens it, your essay that opens, and how you wrote about maybe not discovering, but how Father Tim was brought to you. Can you talk about that story? I just loved that story.
So I left advertising in the late 80s and moved to the mountains of North Carolina, Blowing Rock, one of the prettiest little
It
towns
is so
on the
beautiful.
face of the earth. And I didn't have much money. I had just enough to make a down payment on a little house. I think it cost something like $84,000. This was 100 years ago. And I was going to write a novel. I'd never written a novel before. And you think you're so excited because you're going to write a novel, but you'd forgotten that you don't know how to do that.
Yeah. Nobody does.
Nobody
Every
does.
time I go to do it again, I think, how do you do this? Do I want to do this? Why am I doing this? So.
Oh, yeah, I love that. So I started writing a book, but I realized it was the wrong book because I could not make those characters get off the page and walk around.
Yeah.
I was giving it everything I had, and it was just going nowhere. I just had no joy. I had nothing for this book. So, okay, honestly, I was in despair. So here I've moved. I've left advertising. I didn't burn my bridges because I was freelancing to make a living. But I could not by any means make a U-turn. That's not something I was going to do. I prayed about it, of course, and God spoke to my heart and said, go and don't look back. Do not look back.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'm in this for better or worse. And one night, lying in bed, it was 2:00 in the morning. I remember all of this distinctly because it was an epiphany. My little niece was spending the night with me, and 2:00 in the morning, I have this image, couldn't sleep, of a shorter, overweight, balding man walking down a village street. I only see his back. And then I waited, and he turned around, and I saw he was wearing a collar. So it was a priest. And I just sort of got up and went to my old used Gateway computer that cost a fortune and started writing. He left the coffee-scented warmth of the Main Street grill and stood for a moment under the green awning. Well, there it was, and what was I going to do with that? Well, I just said, well, just let him go and follow him. That's all I know to do.
You've been following him ever since?
Followed that guy for 15 novels. You know, I didn't even really like him in the beginning.
Oh, why did you not like him?
I didn't dislike him. I just didn't connect with him somehow. I don't know. It took me about 3 novels to really get in the groove with his character. That's when the character began to grow.
Yeah, yeah.
That's when his flaws started to show.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when he became more human.
Sure, absolutely.
Agatha Christie wrote 60 novels and short stories about Hercule Poirot. And at the end, here's what she said. I never really cared for that little man.
That's who came, right? That's who was there. We'll be right back after this break with Jan Karon. Elon University is proud to support the Our State Book Club. In the same way great authors bring North Carolina stories to life, Elon is committed to fostering knowledge, creativity, and lifelong learning across our state. Discover how Elon University shapes thoughtful leaders at www.elon.edu. We are back with Jan Karon. So we are talking about Bathed in Prayer, but we're also talking about Father Tim. A moment ago, you were talking about how you weren't wild about Father Tim the first couple of books, but as his flaws were revealed,
Yes.
he became more interesting
Yes.
to you. Can you talk about the challenges and also the glories? And I'm asking this as a writer about writing about a character who is realistic, a person of faith who constantly has that faith challenged or pushed back on, sometimes by himself.
Yes.
What's that like? Is it I imagine it's fertile ground for.
It is. And it was good for my faith.
Mm-hmm. Oh, interesting.
Because I had to dig so deeply with him sometimes. I mean, I'm not a psychologist, a psychiatrist. I have no certification to do what I do in my books. So that's another reason I bathe my work in prayer, because I need help. When he faces these impossible circumstances, you need to come in with some very reasonable, believable, authentic, and doable component of faith.
Yes.
And what is that? You don't always just automatically know. Mm-hmm. You have to dig for it.
Yes.
So I think the digging with a priest as the lead character has been really good for me. It's been very challenging. But I also like to talk just briefly about what my fans say about this work. At 2 different places in one tour, a young couple came up to me, not the same young couple, and said, Miss Karon, we just want to thank you because your books have saved our marriage. Heard that twice. And I do not know how to save a marriage, having been married 3 times. I just don't know how to do that.
Sure.
So I don't know how to do all the things that Father Tim has to know to do, which really keeps me in prayer. Mm-hmm. And I know when it's right, when I can feel it. When it feels right, if it doesn't feel right, I go on to something else. I discard that. And believe me, I do not like to waste a whole scene if I can help it. But sometimes you got to do it.
Yeah.
So I don't even, it's all a mystery.
Yes.
Isn't it all
It is.
writing?
And one thing that I really appreciate about Father Tim, there's the verse that faith without acts is not faith at all. Father Tim is constantly confronted with the challenge of doing things that are really inconvenient.
Inconvenient,
They're really inconvenient. And he often does them, sometimes against his own will, but he knows that his will is not what he's acting on. And I find that refreshing. I think that very often humans, we don't like doing things that aren't convenient. We don't like stopping and helping. We don't like having our ethics called into question, the reality of them. And I find that so refreshing about your books.
Well, he was like that as a child. He was a very unusual child. He was, he built a fort with a friend, and, he knew how to shoot a shotgun, and he went barefooted in overalls, and he did a lot of things that boys do. But he was also soulful. Mm-hmm. And he was quick to learn scripture, and which always delighted the priest. So he's just always been that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wanted to help people.
We are here at the end of August. The podcast, this episode will air at the end of August, and we are just a few short weeks away from the release of My Beloved on October 7th. And I don't have to tell you, I'm telling our listeners and our viewers how important pre-orders are. Go to your indie bookstore, make sure you order My Beloved, Jan Karon's new book. It'll be waiting on you, usually on pub day, or maybe even before.
That's right.
Yeah, and you can pre-order
mailbox.
online, maybe even in your mailbox. Can you tell us a little bit about this novel?
Yes, I can, but I've got to show the cover. I've come out of marketing. So
That's a beautiful cover, by the way.
Oh,
I love that blue.
Yeah. So this has the title has an interesting backstory. I wanted to call it Beloved. And that made every sense to me. I would go to the mat for Beloved. And then I realized that Toni Morrison owned this word, which is another name, by the way, for Christ. And I was brokenhearted. And I thought, well, we could call it The Letter. I thought, I'm not calling any of my books The Letter. It's just too easy. That's rolling off a log. So we ended up with, and it makes it's a funny story that I can't tell you all about without a spoiler. So anyway, My Beloved is the title, and so I sort of got what I wanted, and it works.
Sure, yeah, it's a beautiful title. Can you tell us what it's about?
Yeah, it's about a letter that gets lost. So Father Tim asks Cynthia what she wants for Christmas. She says, I don't need anything. I don't want anything, honey. I have everything. They're very happily married, maybe because they married late in life.
Sure,
Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know. I enjoy their marriage, by the way. I enjoy writing that marriage. So she said, just write me a letter. Write me a love letter. Well, he knew that she would like that a lot, but he did not want to do it. It's inconvenient.
He's inconvenient, that's right.
But something comes over him and he starts thinking how much fun his wife is, how much more fun he is now that he has this wife. She's patient, she's loving, she's creative. He's such a deal he's got in this woman. He's going to write the letter. So he gets out the Mont Blanc pen and the India ink, and he's going to do it stylishly. 2 pages on cream stock. And something just overtakes him. Like sometimes you have a great idea,
Mm-hmm.
this idea just explodes. You know it's going to be
Yes,
great.
yeah.
He writes that 2-page letter at a fevered pitch and says everything he meant to say, wanted to say, that she would love hearing. He doesn't always get that much satisfaction from a sermon. He gets to
Mm-hmm.
the end of a sermon and is that what he really wanted to say? Well, not exactly. So, anyway, so he folds it, puts it in an envelope, seals it, writes on the cover, "Beloved." The phone rings. It's an emergency. And the letter goes missing.
Mm.
And it starts its way around the village.
Mm.
This very private letter.
Oh, Lord.
I had so much
Terrible
fun.
nightmare. Great setup for a novel. Well, speaking of the village, I want to close out our time together, which has been such a joy, Jan. You have spent decades writing about Mitford. Can you share, and I know this may get you some letters. Can you perhaps share 3 characters who've really stayed with you and why?
Thank you for asking me about my characters. They're my favorite thing. They're why I write.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very character driven. You can see from the plot of a letter going around a village that I'm not much of. I mean, read a John Grisham novel and you're in and out of so many
Sure,
holes
yeah.
and turns and twists, but no, just I've got one little plot and I think it's powerful. But anyway, so my characters, Harley Welch. I adore Harley Welch. I don't usually write real people into my books because why?
Yeah.
If you've got an imagination, let's use it. But Harley probably came from a house painter I had in Blowing Rock. He was this big around, and he had a beard down to his way past his belt. And he was so funny. He said, yeah, we didn't have no toys when I was coming up." He said, "We had a little ball, but it was cut in half, and he says when you'd throw it, you didn't know which way it was going to go." He said, "The dog eat half of it is what happened to it." I mean, that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
And he's a storyteller.
Mm-hmm.
And I could just kiss Harley. Then I love Esther Cunningham, who is such an old battle axe.
Mm-hmm.
She's funny. No dialect. She just talks like I talk.
Sure, yeah, yeah.
Father Tim, yes, of course. Because we have to have Father Tim in order for these characters to bloom. I mean,
Sure.
you've got to have the base.
Mm-hmm.
You something has to remain solid,
Yes.
and he's solid. Who else? Maybe one more. Dooley has been a wonderful character. I had to raise a young boy, and I don't know how to do that either.
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked a friend to bring me her 3-year-old son.
Oh,
He
wow.
was going to be 3, and so I could just see what they do, what they talk about, and then I would go find a 10-year-old as he grew up, and what are you thinking about? Are you thinking about girls yet, or whatever? So I raised a boy, and I raised a girl too. I raised Lace, and that was kind of daunting. But actually, just to put a bottom line on it, I love all my characters. I weep with them easily. I cry easily anyway, which is, do you cry easily?
I do, yeah.
Oh, good. I think that's helpful, don't you,
Yeah.
as a writer?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're a sweet man.
Well, thank you,
You've
Jan.
got a
You're
great
sweet
smile.
one. Well, thank you. Thank you. And thank you for joining us. This has just been such a blast, and I know our viewers are going to love this.
Thank you.
Elon University believes in the power of stories to engage and inspire our community. That's why Elon is proud to sponsor the Our State Book Club, showcasing conversations with writers who reflect the heart of our state. Learn how Elon University is igniting discovery and dialogue in North Carolina at www.elon.edu.
From day one at Elon University, you're empowered. Engaged learning, meaningful mentorship, celebrated individuality. Transform your potential into purpose and become a leader the world needs at Elon University.
What might it be like underneath the sunrise in a state of flight? Coming back on me, it seems wonderful, the wandering mountain birds on a beach. Never moments ever wasted, turning away from your love. Honeybees, gardens of sweeter fruit never tasted, no turning to other things. Will you be, will you see? Sweeter fruit never tasted, don't turn your back on me. Mountains pushing into the sea.